again here from Worthington Publishing with Design Vlog 2. Sat down, we had our meeting with Worthington Publishing last night, and after discussion, because of the unique game piece we've come up with, rather than doing a hybrid of the upcoming Apache game, we've decided to do a reprint and a remastering of the Cowboys game from 2007. So what I'm going to talk about today is what I'm going through, the process I'm going through as we put this together. Anytime you do a reprint update, you want to make it interesting to the original owners of the game as well as new gamers. We did Cowboys back in 2007 before Kickstarter. For our company, we found that Kickstarter allows us to reach a whole new world of gamers. There's a lot of gamers out on Kickstarter that have never heard of us, and we're aware of that. But this was a great game. It was, we originally published it in 2007, like I said, and then we came out with some advanced rules that we added on Board Game Geek that gamers really seem to like. It's currently rated a 6.2 on Board Game Geek, but if you go and look at the comments, all the comments said that had the advanced rules been put out with the game at the time, that it'd probably be rated much higher, and we agree. So we're updating the rules with that. We're going to add some new scenarios, and like I said, we have a very unique game piece for the Cowboys that we're going to add. When you do a game like this, you need a large number of source material. We had 26 gunfights in the original game using various versions of the board. So what I'm going to show you is the components that you got in the original. Again, beautiful box art done by Gary Zobley. This was a cover on True West magazine, which we used for a lot of source material, True West magazine. You got a black and white scenario book that had the 26 scenarios laid out. And we did it like a cowboy dime novel. You got a deck of 55 cards that were, let's hope that's right, it's not up, poker style cards. So it was actually a deck of poker deck, and you could play poker with it if you wanted. But these added random events and things that could happen during the game to the deck. You got, again, the full color rolls. You got 2 dice. You got plastic bases to stand your Cowboys up in, because you got front and back facing on these. You got 6 double-sided hard-mounted boards so you could lay out different town configurations being out in the plains. You got cowboy cards to track cowboy ammo, health, and things like that. And each cowboy in the game has a track. Let's see what else. And then you got the beautiful full color counters. And these were pretty cool because we did 30 of them, and we had Gary Zobley draw these specifically for us. You got town folk and things like that, and various markers for cattle and horses. But the cool thing was, when your cowboy got shot and died, you laid him out in the street with a dead cowboy counter. And we did a number of those. You may recognize some of the folks in the counters. We definitely did one that looked like old Clint Eastwood from back in the spaghetti western days. You got various weapons, shotgun, pistol, rifles, and then you got markers for cowboy modifiers. The pieces we're doing will probably do away with the need for the counters, and I can't go beyond that yet, as we're still working with the printer to do that. I'm also looking at if I can add a role-playing element to this. So these are all considerations that you've got to look at when you're reprinting or even designing an initial game. What can you put in to make the game interesting to gamers? So that's what I'll be working on. I've had our graphic artist last night pull up the original rules. I'll be modifying those. And I'm not going to do that on here, although I can show you, but it's just typing on a Word doc. And I'll be working with the existing boards to create even more scenarios. On Kickstarter, most Kickstarter backers like some sort of exclusive. And what we'll probably do is add some extra scenarios as stretch goals, because from a publishing standpoint, every time you add something like scenarios or rules, it adds pages to the rule book. And adding pages to the rule book increases the cost for us printing wise. And you may not think it costs a lot to add a sheet of paper, but when you're doing it for 2,000, 5,000 games, it starts adding up if you're adding multiple pages to a scenario book and a rule book. You're changing cards, so you've got to pay for your graphic artist time. They don't do it for free to make these changes. And graphic artists are very expensive, if any of y'all in the business or work as that may know. I'm going to pause the camera here for a sec, grab some of my source material to show you what I'm working with. Grant Wiley back, and I'll show you what we used primarily for the first iteration of the game. It's 3 volumes from Bob Bowes-Bell True West magazines, Classic Gunfights, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And these are great books if you can lay your hands on them. Bob's put in brief stories on each one, sidebars, maps, showing towns and how they were laid out, true pictures of some of the historical places. So you get a real sense and feel of the maps you're trying to lay out and position. And we went out and spent a bundle of money getting a classic set of books. It's by James Horan, and it's a 3-volume set. It's the authentic Wild West. This book, The Gunfighters, was a great one, describing the personalities of the cowboys. You can lots of pictures, lots of detail. Book 2, The Outlaws, had a lot of detail on the bad guys, the interesting characters from it. These guys live short and violent lives. And then book 3, The Lawmen. Again, these are great books. It's got, this one's 300 authentic documents and illustrations. So I'll be using these again to come up with some more scenarios. And the way you do that is you just read and you figure out how to, your base game with the rules, how you apply those to a scenario. How do you lay it out, a historical situation, a bank robbery? Well, if you're the good guys and I'm the bad guy, and if I'm coming in to rob the bank, I can't start my cowboys off board and they're going to come riding in because you're going to shoot me before I ever get to the bank. So the best way to set up a scenario like that is you start with the bank robbery occurring, and now my job is to get out of the bank and get off the board before your lawmen gun my guys down. We had a number of interesting scenarios like that in the original, the Great Minnesota Northfield Raid, where the James gang got shot all to pieces. So I'll be looking to do more like that. This is day 2 of the designer vlog. I'm going to log out for now. Thank you, happy gaming, and see you later.